Yeah. Sir, shall we start?
Oh, yeah. Hi, friends. I'm Nagendra here. Actually, I arranged and requested Mr. Nagaraj to give us a session today on how to clear this IP exam, and he was very happy to be part of us. And he is just to share you that he has cleared this IP exam in his first attempt with more than 70%, and also he is a registered valuer, DISA, and also forensic auditor. So please welcome Nagraj, and over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for the thank you for the nice introduction. Good morning to all, and happy Dasara to each and everyone. I'm happy to see that the interest which you people are having on the festival day. So it is give us some more positive spirit to share IP to how to crack the IP exam, and also some of the tips and how to study and how to put your short notes, all those things. I am just presenting that notes to you people. Yeah. Myself, I'm Nagraj Imadi, I'm chartered accountant. Having both RV and IP, I cleared recently. IP, as Nagendra sir said, I cleared in first attempt with a 72% this thing, and RV also more than 71% I got it in RV. So this is my brief introduction. So let us go into the presentation part of it, IP preparation. Uh, Yeah, today's presentation, whatever the IBC exam preparation plan, I segregated into the 8 parts. One is what is the syllabus. So it is very important to know the syllabus and to concentrate on the uh, uh, main areas. What are the focus areas in the syllabus? Which part of it is contributing more marks in the exam, and where to put your core focus. I think a study. That is, we can say in particularly in casting also we have ABC and like that. In examination also we need to concentrate some areas where you definitely you will get good marks, and also scoring area is very good. So that's the reason I put it as exam syllabus. That part of it will discuss. Then the marks allocation for each subject, each chapter wise we have given. And there is a one more slide which I put it for the case law preparation and approach, how we can approach for the case laws, and case study approach and the marks allocated for each case study, and the key regulations. In the regulations also how to read the regulations, and how to focus remembrance of timelines. That is very important of timelines is very important in regulations to remember those things. And allied laws, and specifically in allied laws, if you see the syllabus, it is a very vast syllabus, but you have to focus only key areas in the allied laws also, so that our purpose is to pass the exam. After passing the exam we can do whatever other things we'll do. Then the other areas like particularly finance, economics, and you have Constitution of India. All these things are there in other areas. How to concentrate the thing, and some MCQs, how the pattern of questions are coming in the exams, and what is the there is a questions which is called definition questions will come direct. That is very easy questions if you read it, that definitions. Some questions are in negative mode. Some questions in the acts, like other acts, how it is coming. So that for some 20 questions I have made it the model of the exam questions. So this is what the whole presentation which will be there today in the 1 hour time, and we will put all this presentation. And also I request, suppose if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box, and at the end of the presentation we will take up maybe 10 to 15 minutes time. We will do the presentation 45 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes we will allocate for the question hour. So we can clarify one by one, and also if you have any other these things also, you can get in touch with me through my email ID, which I'll share with you people. This is what total presentation and plan, today's plan. Then, so the exam syllabus, mainly what is the acts covered for the exam is This is IBC code 2016 and IBC rules and regulations and other laws. Other laws, what are the laws? Other laws are there. I present in the next slide. I'll effect you. The effective date exam up to 31st December 2020. We have after that we have a new syllabus. Up to 31st December 2020 we have old syllabus, that is 30th June 2019. Whatever the amendments, whatever the acts, whatever the other acts or IBC code regulations up to 30th June 2019, whatever amendments happened in that act, that is applicable to us. After amendments, whatever is happened, that is not relevant for the exam. This is a one key point everybody has to remember. For example, if you see in CIRP, the minimum criteria amount to go to CIRP under section 7 other things, the amount has been changed in the recent amendments. If you remember that, that is a confusion. So you need to remember only, you need to note your amendments, your act is applicable up to 30th June 2019. After that, nothing is applicable for exam. So once you clear, then you have to update yourself after that. So amendments up to 30th June, that is Bare Acts, Rules and Regulations, allied laws. So there is a one more source to get the Bare Acts. I given here that ibba.gov.in legal. This is you can download IBBA Bare Act. In one good thing in the IBBA website is they will give all amendments. IBC code is there. They will say IBC code up to date amendments. They put it. So you download that amendment act. So there is a 30th June 2019, that is before 30th June, whatever it is there, please download that. Then the indiacode.co.nac.in. This is also one website which having all Bare Acts, like particularly Limitation Act, Special Relief Act, Arbitration Act. Sorry, sir. Arbitration Act. So these are the various kinds of acts you can download from this. And mca.gov.in, you can refer your company's act related issues. Then income tax, income tax as such in the examination weightage is very less. Somebody mute their this thing, please.
Yeah, one question, if you could just repeat the website, sir, the two websites you just mentioned. Where
Sure, I'll do it. I'll do it, sir. I'll do it. One is ibba.gov.in. That is one website. Second one is www.indiacode.nac.in. That is the second website. In the indiacode.nac.in, you will get all Bare Acts, including LLP, Special Relief Act, Partnership Act, Negotiable Instrument Act. You will have Limitation Act, Arbitration Act. All the Bare Acts, you will get it from this indiacode.nac.in. Very good. Please download Bare Acts. And please remember your date. Cutoff date is 30th June 2019. After that, for example, the Article 370, which is Parliament has abolished, that amendment is happened in October 2019. So please remember those things is very specific to exam. Suppose if some acts is applicable excluding Jammu and Kashmir. So after 30th October 2019, that is including across India, it is applicable. So please take note of those amendments. So that is what I want to stress in this. And mca.gov.in, Companies Act and LLP Act, you will get it. Income Tax India, you can refer some basic section. But as such, in the examination weightage of marks, income tax related questions, I feel very less. So, but still, if you can refer it there. And indiagov.in, this is why I refer, this is a Constitution of India. At least there is a weightage for in the exam questions is 2 to 3 marks or 4 marks weightage is there Constitution of India. You can download the Constitution of India and refer the relevant areas only. The whole Constitution is not applicable exam. Only we have Supreme Court, High Court and other some fundamental rights that is referred in the syllabus. That only you refer from the Constitution of India. It is important and you will have 3 to 4 marks. Very, very important, the Constitution of India. Please refer it. This is the exam syllabus. What is the scope on this? Second. So, if you see the marks, hello. If you see the marks, the weightage of marks each syllabus, we have 10 topics in this. One is IBC code. As such, Bare Act itself is a 20 marks. and the rules and regulations another 20 marks, and the Companies Act, LLP Act, you have 8 marks, and you have Indian Contract Act, Transfer of Property, Sale of Goods Act, and Partnership Act, Negotiable Instrument Act, all are 7 marks. And RDDB, SURFACE, SEBI, Arbitration and Limitation Act, you have 6 marks. Finance and Accounts, IT and GST, you have 7 marks. Like this, if you see the pattern of marks and syllabus, the whole IBC code and rules and regulations, it covers 20 marks plus 20 plus 12 plus 12, 16. That is 56 marks is your IBC code and rules and regulations. This is the highest weightage, more than 56 marks. And 10 marks your case loss, which is 59 case loss is applicable for syllabus. That is 10 marks is very, very important, and it is easy to score also if you approach in a proper channel. It is easy to score out of 10, out of 10 you can get 10 marks. That is very easy. And 12 marks and 4 marks, it is depend on your reading of code, IBC code itself. So IBC code itself, you have 20 plus 12 plus 4, that is around 36 marks is the IBC code. Regulations is 20 marks and 10 is total 66 total weightage. If you have to concentrate your 60 to 70% of the time in this area. Second area, you have Companies Act and other finance and other, there is RDDB, SURFACE. SEBI is a huge syllabus. My suggestion and also my sincere request, if you are already practicing in SEBI, please you can have the practical exposure. Suppose if you people not practicing and you are having some some knowledge, enough, that knowledge is enough to answer the questions. Even if you don't know some of the, you can leave it. That is the one thing which is there. So what I mean to here to stress the point is your mark, scoring marks out of the total chapters is IBC code is 36 marks. Rules and regulations is 26 marks, 20 marks. So plus your case loss 10 marks. This itself is a 66 marks. That means 66% of your questions are coming from this area. Remaining 40%, 44% is there other areas. So you be thorough with the 66%. Out of 66%, at least you have to score more than 80% or 88, 85%. That will give you confidence of clearing this exam. Remaining areas, our members, like some chartered accountants, advocates, whoever is there, they are already into practice of Companies Act, other areas. They definitely can answer some of the questions, like basic questions will come, some they can answer it. So stress, major important in this area is IBC code and rules and regulations. Remaining other acts, priority. Suppose wherever you are not having preliminarity with that acts, please have a reading one-time reading and note it down important areas. That also I will tell you what are the areas which you need to concentrate on other acts. This is the allocation of marks. Then you have so second important part is a case law preparation and approach. Very, very important, easy to score. Only thing is you have to read very thoroughly those case laws. And my suggestion is for this case laws, I will refer Mr. Ashish Makhija, one case law book is there. Please take that book, very good book. And he has given very practical approach. I think he is a master in IBC that everybody knows. So if you read that book and 59 case laws is there, if you prepare your short notes, it is easy to score 10 marks out of 10. So what I want to stress on this, whenever you are reading any case law, there is a Constitution of India articles. What is the power of Supreme Court? What is the power of High Court? What is the power of NCLT? Under which constitution those powers has given in the constitution, and article, under which article the power has given to Supreme Court, High Court or NCLT, NCLAT, those references please note it down whenever you are reading the case law. Second, in the case law, some sections like operational creditors, section 9 and section 8, very, very important. Some case laws particularly depend on some of the operational, like operational creditors, some of the financial creditors, some the guarantors. Like this, they have referred some of the key sections. That is, main case is depend on that subject only. whether an operational creditor is eligible to go for an insolvency application or not. That is the main, the total case law depend on that section. So please remember what is IPC sections referred in that particular case law. Then reference sections of other acts. Like in any case, they have given, why? Because this IBC code and Companies Act winding up sections, they have interrelated some of the things. Some cases were pending in the High Court before IBC coming into the picture. So some High Court cases particularly, they were referring some sections in the Companies Act and also some sections in the IBC code. So these High Court cases are eight case laws are there. Out of 8 cases, 2 or 3 case laws which have company sections. Please remember those sections also, very important. Why? Because they will refer the section, ask you the which case law they were discussing. That is also most important. Then referred cases in the case laws, like suppose Swiss Re Bunds India, that is the we can say the Supreme Court case law Swiss Re Bunds, which is a master case law and it covers everything. It covers everything of the IBC provisions. So that case will come in NCLT cases references, NCLAT case references, and all those things. Like that, some other case laws also. Swiss ribbon, one example, and metal is one example. So these are the areas which you people has to. Whenever you are reading the case law, please note it down these short points. What is the constitution articles? Suppose, for example, one Article 142, Supreme Court has superpowers in that article. So that will come under 3 areas. One is ArcelorMittal, Swiss ribbons, like this. Please remember those articles and note it down, short notes, particularly this. And please read full case law of Swiss ribbons and ArcelorMittal, which is very, very important. ArcelorMittal is section 29A of IBC code. Particularly, they will refer about ArcelorMittal. Swiss ribbons covers all the sections. You can say section 12, section 12A, like a lot of sections covers. If you read these 2 case laws thoroughly, I think other case laws will become very easy for you people. So that's what my suggestion. Please read these 1 or 2 cases there. Then the question pattern, how it will come. There is a one case, one question from each segment, NCLT, NCLAT, High Court and Supreme Court. So each question is 2 marks. It carries 2 marks. If you know the answers, please answer it. If you don't know the answer, don't answer it. Why? Because the negative mark weightage is very high here. 2 marks is 0.5 marks you will lose. So NCLAT, High Court, Supreme Court, very, very important. And they may refer one more question from NCLAT, one more question from NCLT, and the Supreme Court one more question. High Court, they are restricting 1 question. What is the pattern of the exam is seeing. So if you thorough with this case studies and more stress on NCLAT cases are very simple. All cases are 1 or 2 pages questions only. You have that, their reference is very little. The biggest cases will be there in the Supreme Court, that is the Swiss ribbons and ArcelorMittal, or one more case is that this is the longest questions, longest case laws. And remaining all case laws are very short. So my suggestion, if you have that Mr. Ashish Makhija book, please refer that book. It is easy. You can score 10 marks and also you can thoroughly understand the concepts. One side, if you read the IBC code, and another side, if you read the case law, please refer whenever you are getting one section in that particular case, refer the Baer Act. What is the interpretation in that particular case? You can read that, so that it will become easy for you to answer the case studies also. In not only for case laws, it is helpful in the case study answering also. So that is what my my suggestion in this area is. Prepare your short notes. Don't depend on the full notes. Each cases take some shortcut words. For example, if you take this case study one, there is a Swiss ribbons. There is 2 things which we can remember is Article Constitution of India, Article 142, where the Supreme Court has taken his authority to give suggestion. And the ArcelorMittal also, Supreme Court has taken his powers under Article 142 of Constitution of India. Like that, one key word you remember and you can answer these case studies. I have some preparation, I have some short notes which is helpful for you people. I will share those things later after this presentation. I am not giving this in this presentation, but I will share you how to make a short notes and how to present it, how to remember those case laws. So 10 marks, concentrate this area, very good scoring area. If you know the five case laws, I think 10 marks will be come to you people. This is in relation to case law presentation. Other part, now case study preparation. So everybody, now case studies are there for us 16 marks. So the case study area, two areas which is there in the case study. One is CARP liquidation, that is part 1, part 2. Another is individual partnership firms. In this part 3, 12 marks question will case study coming from CARP and liquidation, part 1 and part 2. And individuals and partnership firms, 4 marks case study is coming. So total put together 16 marks. This is what you need to remember in the case study. What are the areas, what is the areas I am covering, I will cover it. So I given in this slide, I given a brief overall approach of IBC code, how it is structured. Insolvency bankruptcy code has almost all part 5 parts it is there. Part 1 and part 2 covers corporate insolvency resolution process and liquidation. Part 3 covers individuals and partnership firms insolvency and bankruptcy procedures. And part 4 covers your regulation part, like insolvency professional agencies, insolvency professionals, insolvency professional entities, and information utilities. And part 5 will have all other like judicial powers, supreme other schedules, amendments, all those things will cover in the part 5. This is the overall picture of IBC code. Under CARP regulations and liquidations, you have regulations, you have rules. Under regulations also, you have CARP separate and liquidation separate. So this is the structure which is there in the IBC code. And rules also, very important rules for exam is AAA rules, that is application for adjudicating authority rules. Very, very important. This rule, if you have to thoroughly read and remember that 6 forms are there under rule 4 to rule 5, rule 6, rule 7. These are the very, very, very important rules. Please read these AAA rules and remember those forms, and that will carry at least 2 marks for your exams. Then individuals and partnership firms, so far they have not notified any rules for the examination purposes. After 30th June, there is some regulations has come that personal corporate guarantors, all those things, that is notified. That is not relevant for our exam up to 31st December 2020. So you have the advantage for this up to 31st December 2020, you need not read so much syllabus. Once you cross that 31st December 2020, you have to read lot of syllabus. Why? Because there is a lot of notifications, lot of personal guarantors and other new regulations came. So far under part 3, you don't have any regulation. You only have to read Bare Act. Don't read any other things. Only Bare Act you have to read. And part 4, you have regulations of insolvency professional agency, insolvency professional / insolvency professional entities, and information utilities. In these 3 regulations, for these 3 areas, you have 3 regulations. Very, very important for exam point of view. You have to read it. Then the miscellaneous part 5, you have board meeting procedures, various type of board meeting related, and also like when you can go to Supreme Court, when you can go to NCLAT, all those timelines of the things is there in part 5. Please read it. And one more very, very important area is section 245 to section 255, which covers the schedules. So it is easy to remember schedules. It has given in the chronological order. It is started with the Partnership Act, ends with the Companies Act, latest act. So you have to remember those things. At least 2 marks it will cover from that schedule point of view. And you have rules, that is registered valuers rules, which is Companies Act rules. That is also you need to go through it. Rule 18 or Rule 19, 2 important areas there are repeated questions are coming. Other miscellaneous rules, which is 1 page or 2 page rules are there in the IBC code itself. Please go through it. That will not take much time. One reading is sufficient to remember those things. This is the overall structure of the IBC code presentation part of it. So case study, coming to case study again. case study preparation. As I told you, case studies are coming from part 1, part 2, that is CIRP and liquidation. What are they focusing on the case study? They will give one scenario. They will ask you what is IRP and RP roles and responsibilities. That is, if you know what IRP can do, that is interim resolution professional, or RP, what is the roles when he take up the assignment, what is his roles and responsibilities, what authority he is having. That is the one area which they are covering. Same second point of is liquidator roles and responsibilities. In the case study scenario, they will focusing in what is liquidator can do. They will give one scenario whether the action taken by liquidator is right or wrong. Like that, they will focus on the liquidator roles and responsibilities. Then they are focusing on section 7 to section 10. This is the CIRP part 1, part 2, the basic sections which which initiate the CIRP processes, like section 7 you see FC, section 8 and 9 OC, section 10 CD. So FC is a financial creditor, OC is the operational creditor, section 10 is a corporate debtor, himself can go to apply for insolvency professionals. In these basic areas, what are the primary things? For example, if you say financial creditor to go to the IBC application, it is only default. That is the definition which they given. Whereas in example section 8 and 9, if you see operational creditor, there is a two conditions which is laid down in the for operational creditors. One, there should be a default. The default supposed to be communicated to the operational creditor. There is a demand notice from the operational creditor to the corporate debtor. Once 10 days is over, then he can go to the IBC. So you need to be specific understanding of each and every section. So that is the difference between FC and OC. Corporate debtor, he himself can go, there is a resolution process, what are the resolution criteria, how much percentage they can approve, all those conditions is there. That is the part which is covering under case study preparation. Third thing is relevant regulations. See, in these regulations also, in IBC code, they may not clearly define the steps, like what to do, what not to do. So regulations, for example, in CIRP regulations, when the company IRP is appointed, he has to do an advertisement in the newspapers. So what is advertising? Which area he has to advertise? How many newspapers he has to advertise? Whom to communicate that advice? So these are the things is covered in the regulation. That part also they are coming as a case study. But it will be one question or two questions from that area also will be there. And the critical matter section. In IBC, if you say the 66%, if I am not wrong, there is a 6 sections which is there, 66% approval sections. So those sections they are also asking as a case study question. They will give scenario, but what percentage of approval required for this decision to take it. So you need to remember this 66% case study sections. The third part is COC roles and responsibilities, that is committee of creditors. This is these people nothing but a board of directors for the insolvent company. So what are the roles and responsibilities? What approvals they have to provide? What are the areas the IRP or IRP should take prior approval from the COC? This is one of the area which you need to be thorough with that to answer the case study questions. Then the resolution applicant. So once a process is, some resolution applicant also he has some roles and responsibilities when he has to submit his intentions, resolution application, all those things, there are some criteria is there, you need to remember. If you concentrate these areas very thoroughly, you can easily answer your case study for part 1, part 2. So that is what CIRP, 12 marks you can easily answer, very easy. It is like separate preparation may not required for you, but if you read whenever you are reading BEAR Act, if you concentrate these areas little one more stress point, then you can easily answer your case study questions. Then part 3 is your individual insolvency, partnership. These 3 areas is the part 3. Here you don't have any regulations. You have only BEAR Act. And you need to see there is a 3 criteria, three categories of insolvency process in part 3. One is a FSP, fresh start process. Third is, see, I put it a PIRP. So there is a CIRP part 1, part 2. PIRP is a personal insolvency resolution process. In the BEAR Act, they will call it insolvency resolution process. Third thing is the bankruptcy. This is a like liquidation in CRP is there. In personal insolvency, you have bankruptcy. These three areas, please remember the basic sections. FSP, you need to remember section 79, 78, 79. You have to, who has to apply, who has to do all those things. Personal insolvency, 94, 95. Bankruptcy, like that basic sections, if you remember, you can answer these 4-mark questions. Then very, very important in part 3, the case study preparation is the definition section, where qualifying debt, very important definition, excluded asset, excluded debt. These are the key definitions which you have to remember. Why? Because the case study, whatever they are covering some of the areas. Please determine the qualifying debt, how much will be there. Please determine what is excluded asset. Please determine what is excluded debt. So these are the definitions, very important definitions, which you need to concentrate on part 3 part. Then the bankruptcy trustee role. Like in insolvency, corporate insolvency, we have IRP and RP. Bankruptcy trustee, nothing but is an RP, resolution professional. What is his roles and responsibilities? That also they will ask one question from this case study. Then the creditor and debtor roles. So debtor, particularly in PIRP, he has to prepare himself as a resolution file along with the RP if he appointed. So that question also one is coming for case study question. Then the restrictions are debtors on FSP, PIRP, bankruptcy. For example, if you go for fresh start process, the debtor cannot leave India without permission of adjudicating authority. One condition is there. Remember, that is subsection 3, if I am not 79, subsection 3. Very, very important section. Please note it down, those key points. That will be a case study question for you. So they will give scenario, they will ask these things. This is the whole broader approach, how to prepare a case study, how to attempt the case study. If you stress these areas, what I have listed out here, it is easy to answer your case study questions. Second part. So 12 marks case study coming. Please give importance to this. This is also is nothing but your IPC code. If you are reading, read thoroughly these areas also. Second is key regulations. So I am coming here. Regulations, everybody feels, oh, one regulation will have, let us say, some 56 pages. Some regulations are 70 pages, like that. See, that regulation only content is there only 10 to 12 pages. Remaining all various tables, various forms, that is not relevant for the exam at all. You have to read that 10 to 12 pages of the regulation, and remaining content, what is the forms, all those things may not relevant, but you need to remember various forms which is under that regulations. And also whenever you are reading, for example, in part 1, part 2, you have very 4 important regulations. One is CIRP regulation. Second is fast track CIRP regulation, then the liquidation regulations and voluntary liquidations. If you read CIRP regulation, the fast track CIRP regulations, both one and the same. It looks like one and the same. But there are some differences, there are some unique processes, there are some different timelines as specified in the fast track CIRP processes and CIRP regulation. If we can identify those areas and list out those differences, that will be the exam questions. That will be the exam questions. Only you need to do, when you read thoroughly the CIRP regulation, fast track regulation, then take some time and list out the differences. What is there CIRP, what is there in the fast track CIRP? What is the difference between two? So please note it down, those differences. It is easy for you people to score very good marks in this regulation area. Another, so I put it, procedural differences. In CIRP, there is some procedure. In fast track, there is some procedure. For example, in CIRP, we have advertisement, going for advertisement, public advertisement. Fast track, that criteria is not stressed too much there. Then the timeline differences. Some of the regulations, like CIRP regulations, we have timeline 270 days for the, as per the old syllabus. Don't take it this. What is exam for 270 days? As today amendment, that is 330 days, that is different story. But exam is 270 days. In fast track, that the difference is there in the days. Unique processes, like what is the process? The verification process. In CIRP, RP or IRP has to verify the claims. What is the process for claiming? How many days he has to verify? How many days he has to intimate the claim verification to other people? And fast track, that criteria is not stretched too much. Like forms. In CIRP and fast track CIRP, the forms, Form A, Form B, Form CD, Form CA, All these six forms, both forms are one and the same. But only thing is in CIRP you have schedule 1 form A. In fast track schedule 3 form A, like this. Remember the schedule, remember the form. This is a very, very important for the exam to score the answer, score the questions. Otherwise, you might be confused. Hey, this is also form A, there also form A. What schedule? Schedule 1 here, schedule 2 there. Here schedule only CIRP they may call it only schedule. In fast track they may call it as a schedule 1. So these are the key and critical things. If you remember when you are reading for the regulations, I think from regulation 20 marks you can easily score out of 20. 20 marks you can score, and okay, depend on the memory and all the criteria, you can achieve easily 70% out of regulations. That is what my focus area in this key regulations. Same thing, liquidation regulation, voluntary liquidation. These things two you read simultaneously. First read one reading, then read simultaneously, note the differences. So one reading or two reading is sufficient for the regulation to cover and have a good marks. Then part 4 and part 5. See, part 4 and part 5 I already told IPA and IP and IPE means insolvency professional entities like partnership entities, all those things. Information utility regulations. In this, what is the registration forms, membership fees, renewal fee, net worth, shareholding pattern. These are the 5, I can say, 5 areas which questions are concentrating. Registration forms. What is the registration form for IPA? What is the registration form for IP? So if you see all these regulations, form A is the registration form for all the people. So it is easy to remember, and also schedule is also same thing. Membership fees different. IPA membership fees different. IP and IP membership fees is different. And renewal fees, when they have to pay, whether it has to pay annual, whether it has to pay 5 years once, all those things. And suppose if IPA and IP entity or information utility, if you want to start, you need to see the net worth of those things and also shareholding pattern, who will be the shareholders. All these areas very important. Please concentrate these 5 areas. I think from these regulations, any question you can able to answer if you concentrate on these 5 areas. And administrative regulations are there. IBC, like IBC employees and the meetings, disciplinary committee, advisory committee, research associate. These are the another 5 regulations which is very important, and one question may come from these areas. So concentrate. Administrative regulations also very important. These total key regulations, see total regulations, if I am not wrong, it will be there around 12 to 14 regulations. Out of that, if you even concentrate 8 or 9 regulations, you can score marks, very good marks. That is what my stress point in this PPT. Next is allied laws. What I suggest, let us do the excluded part. Why I put it excluded or included? Excluded means it is not for a subject, a syllabus exclusion. This is our preparation. SEBI is a broader thing, and also the marks which you are going to get from SEBI is 1 or 2 marks maximum. For that purpose, you need not read 400, 600 pages of one SEBI regulations. So you can, whatever practical knowledge, please apply. If you are lucky enough, if you know that answer, you answer it. Otherwise, leave the question. Why? Because there is no need of required to answer all the questions. We can leave up to 10 to 15 questions. We can leave without answering, so that you can have negative, without negative marking. You can leave the complete without answering the question. That included part. See, in Companies Act LLP, what is that they are focusing mainly? The meetings and quorum of meeting, time period for the notice of meeting, annual filings, liquidation part, like Companies Act, there is a chapter 20, that is the liquidation. I have prepared one, 2-page checklist. I will share after this session. So you remember only number of days, percentage, annual meeting, quorum of the members, who are the minimum numbers to form a companies. That type of questions are coming from Companies Act and LLP. Then the other acts, as I said earlier, please visit that indiacode.nsc.in. Download all BEAR Acts. Only BEAR Acts you read it, and also with that too you did not consider. Every act is a 10 to 15 page act. The biggest act is the Negotiable Instrument Act and Indian Contract Act. These are the Indian Contract and Transfer of Property Act. These are only some little bigger size. Remaining all 10 to 15 page Bare Acts only. Please read it from the Bare Act. And there are questions also, not interpretation questions, nothing. This is a straight question lifting from the Bare Act and asking. If you have read one time or two time one revision, then it is easy to answer in the Bare Act questions. So in that also, another important point is there is all acts. I think Indian contract has a full act. It is there. Transfer of property full act is there. Some other acts they specified what are the chapters applicable for this exam. Concentrate only that chapters. Don't go beyond that. So that is my suggestion in this Bare Acts part of it. Then we have other areas. Financial reporting. This area, it may be very good when some of the chartered accountants or cost accountant who are into finance and other areas, they can answer easily. Suppose if they are from a different profession like advocates and other things, if they had good knowledge financial, they can also answer. But what are the areas they are covering is like a ratio analysis they are covering. What is the profitability ratios, liquidity ratios, solvency ratios, like this they are covering some of the areas. It will be there, 10 to 12 ratios which you can read and understand those things. Then they are asking about the basic things like current assets, current liabilities, working capital, fixed assets. What is the inclusion of current assets? What is the exclusion of current liability? Like suppose they will give three types of asset, four types of assets, which is not a current asset. This type of inclusion, exclusion questions also coming in that. Then the operational efficiency parameters, like some parameters like turnover ratios, inventory turnover ratio, debtor, these type of things they are also covering. And cash flow categories like operational cash flows, investment cash flows, financial cash. So these are there three categories of cash flows. They are also asking one question whether it belongs to operational cash flows, whether it is belong to investment, whether it belongs to finance. So those type of questions are coming in the financial reporting part. Income tax planning, they are only asking tax evasions, tax planning, TP transactions, some of the cases. But what I feel, income tax not much scoring area for IBC exam, particularly what I know and with the feedback from other my colleagues also. There is no much questions from the income tax planning. Only one or two questions will come. If you are comfortable, you can answer it. Otherwise, you leave it. GST, they are focusing mainly on the GST rates and CGST, IGST, HGST. They are asking, one transaction they will give which rate it will applicable, all those things. Then the excluded products, there is a excluded like alcohol, other things, petroleum products and alcohol which will not be there under GST Act ambit. So those questions they are coming under GST. Economics, general questions, there's macroeconomics. They are asking some GDP, GNP, like a gross domestic product, gross net product, all these, some definitions they are asking. If you have some reference material, you can refer it. Otherwise, you can see, these are all general questions, one or two questions will come. Sorry, this is not construction, constitution, it has to come. One spelling mistake happened, sorry for that. So here constitution, the main importance is Supreme Court, articles 32, 142, 136, that is High Court articles and fundamental rights, right to education, equality in employment, etc. All those things will come. Then third is the workmen, that is general knowledge, workmen. See, in workmen questions, what I suggest, whatever in favor of the workmen, I think more of the case laws and acts, whatever framed, that is welfare of the workmen. So general questions you can answer that workmen related thing. And in IBC code also you have two definitions of workmen dues and workmen. So one workmen dues referred in the Industrial Dispute Act, another workmen is defined in the Companies Act 2013. So please note it down. This is also one mark question. On workmen will come one mark question. Please do the things. This is the other areas which I feel the preparation part of very important. Concentrate this area. That more weightage, as I said in the beginning of that exam, marks allocation, IBC code, regulations, case laws, and case study. This is the 66 marks component in your IBC preparation. If you are thorough with that, if you are able to score even 75%, 80%, remaining other acts will contribute you balance amount. You can easily clear in the IBC exam. This is what my presentation part of it. So before going to further presentation, if any questions are there, we can take up now. So now we have MCQs. Hello.
Nagaraj, this is Anuj. Just a quick
Yes.
one. I hope you
Yes,
will
sir.
be sharing this presentation post this meeting.
Yes, yes, sir. I'll share people.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is amazing stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Nagaraju, one question.
Yes, sir.
With regards to some of these exclusions that you mentioned, like the SEBI,
Yes, sir.
we can exclude and all, in the
Yeah.
Companies Act and also in the Contract Act, Transfer of Property Act, are there any pattern of repeated questions or any sections that you feel we should focus on?
Yes, sir, sir. I didn't include all those. No, it will become a big, what do you call it, slides itself. So I am
Yeah.
definitely sharing what are the important areas in that other apps that I'll share after this presentation. You
Sure.
can concentrate those sections. That is very, helpful for clearing exams. That's what I can
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
There is definitely it is there. So why? Because we can't in company side also. If you see the chapters is there almost all 12 chapters it is mentioned in that. So we can't read all the chapters, but very few areas I can inform you that area also.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, madam.
Nagash, this one amendments, as you said, it is applicable till whatever is applicable amendments till 30th June 2019 or 2020? 2019.
No, 2019, madam. 2019. That's what I'm telling. We are writing exam in 2020. The syllabus what is applicable for is up to 30th June 2019. Please remember that why? Because there is a various amendments came after 30th June 2019 that is not applicable for our exams.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay. Only up to 30th June we need to keep it.
Okay. So first we can book the slot and start the preparation, right?
Yeah, that is always better. Why? Because you know the date of examination. At least you will get the discipline when you are preparing. Without that, it is not possible. That seriousness will not come. I feel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Nagaraju,
Yes,
uh,
sir.
any particular book or reference you would say to prepare for the case studies?
Yeah, sir. I think everyone aware of it. Mr. Ashish Makija, he has published one
Ah,
book, sir. The cases, like he has given 10 model exam papers, 10 exam papers.
acha.
That book is available. I think you better refer that book. That is help us a lot. That I can say.
Okay.
Okay. Sir, one more thing I'll tell you. Sir, shall I tell you one thing? Whenever case studies, if you are thorough with your concepts in IBC Part 1 and Part 2 and IBC Part 3, I am telling you it is a cakewalk for you for case study answer. 16 marks you will get it. You should be thorough with particularly some important sections in the IBC code. You
Hmm.
need to thorough. As I said, like RP rule, roles and responsibility, IRP roles and
Hmm.
responsibilities, COC decision authority. In COC also, if you see in the IBC code, you might be coming across like somewhere they'll say 51%, some they will say 66% like this. So you need to thorough understanding of those percentages, and if you note down some short notes, I think case study answering is very easy. Yes, sir.
Sir, how many readings according to you should we give for each barrack and regulations?
Regulations, madam, shall I, if, I mean, the model of preparation, I don't know how you people prepare. Suppose some people read first reading like a novel, second reading, they will take notes. So some people read first reading with a short notes. So if you are preparing with a short notes and this two readings is sufficient. Even I took, honestly, I'll share with you people, I took only 25 days all this preparation and went for exam. IBC, I think it will place even your memory also some role here, madam. That is what I can say.
Yeah, true, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, sir? Hello?
Yeah, please proceed, Nagaraj.
Yes, sir. So as I said, that is what examination preparation. If anyone having any other further questions, I'll give my email ID. You can put it across, all those questions, or you send it across to me in the email. And the model questions, how it is appearing, you can say here. So first question is, I put it like, definition question. If you see that section 43, 44, 45, 40, 46, like this, all preferential transactions, fraudulent transactions, extraordinary transaction, all these things, they have different type of transaction definitions. Some questions will come like a direct definition question. If you are read it that definition, you can answer these questions. For example, in this question, preferential transaction involves transfer of property of the corporate debtor for the benefit which entity towards an antecedent financial or operational debt which puts the transferee in a beneficial position than he would have been in the event of distribution of the after liquidation. The answer, they are given creditor, surety, guarantee. If you have read it, I think you can answer very nicely. The answer is D, any of the above. All will come, creditor will come, surety will come, guarantor will come. So, but if you are not read it, you may go wrong. You may select a creditor, you may select a surety. So that's what, these are direct definition questions. Some questions like regulation part of it. Who shall preside the meeting of the board? See, there is a governing committee meeting, one regulation is there. It's a straightforward question. So the chairperson in charge of the unable to attend the meeting, this see only chairperson or if the chairperson unable to meeting the board, any other member chosen by the members present in the meeting, chairperson of the board or chairperson of the selection committee, chairperson, any other. See, in these multiple choice questions, if you read the regulation, you can able to answer. Otherwise, these questions cannot answer. So this answer is the B is the right answer. So I am just to list out only how the examination questions will be there. This is the model of the question, one question which I can say. Then this another question like incorrect statement. They'll give negative questions. You need to answer it. Choose incorrect statement when committee of creditors proposes to appoint a new bankruptcy test in place of old one. Then this is a negative question. So if you read all these options, like adjudicating authority shall within 7 days of receipt of the application by committee of creditors direct the board to recommend a replacement of bankruptcy test. Committee of creditors may apply to the board for the replacement of bankruptcy test. The board shall within 10 days of direction of adjudicating authority recommend a bankruptcy trust for replacement against whom disciplinary proceedings are pending. So if you read these sections, this is all clearly given in the part 3. Bankruptcy means part 3. Part 3, you need to read it. Bankruptcy trustee who will appoint, whom to approach. There is a debtor can approach to adjudicating authority. Creditors also can approach to adjudicating authority. Replace the bankruptcy trust. So in this pattern, like this is incorrect. Choose the incorrect statement. Here, if you read what I think somebody might have gone through the IBC code. If you read adjudicating authority shall within 7 days of the receipt of the application by committee of creditors direct the board. This is a correct statement only. Any application goes to the adjudicating authority. First, he will refer that replacing RP or RP and bankruptcy trust or insolvency professional. He will refer that name to board for recommending the person whether is there any disciplinary proceedings or anything. That is 7 days time. That is the right statement only. Committee of the creditors may apply the board for the replacement of. Just you need to note it down this point. Okay, then the board shall within 7 days. See, this is also right statement only. Why? Because once adjudicating refer any appointment of any RP or IRP, the board has to respond to adjudicating authority within 10 days saying that there is no disciplinary proceeding against that RP or IRP and he can be appointed as RP or bankruptcy tester. Or even if he has any disciplinary proceeding, if anything negative is there, they have to recommend. No, he has some recommendation. Board has to propose another name to appoint as a bankruptcy trustee. I think this statement also correct. Then third is adjudicating authority shall by an order appoint. See, this all once board recommends and this first A and C is correct. D also the procedure. Only B is the red. No bankruptcy, no creditor or no COC, nobody will go to board. That is board here means IBBA. Nobody will go to board to appoint any RP or IRP or bankruptcy. That is the procedure. They have to go to adjudicating authority. Adjudicating authority in turn refer to the board. Board will then response to the adjudicating. Then appointment will happen by an order. That is the procedure. If you see B is the wrong answer here. So you need to select the right answer. This is the one of the kind of question which come into the examination. Then a second, like same thing, incorrect, negative questions only. Which statement stand incorrect during the moratorium period? So this is very important. Moratorium under which? In CIRP, section 14 is the moratorium. Please read it thoroughly. All those subsection 1, subsection 2, subsection 3. Under subsection 1, all 4 clauses, clause A, B, C, D. Very, very important. D is again very important clause, which will come as a case study question for you people. So section 14 is very important for moratorium. So in this, any pending legal action or proceeding in respect of any debt shall be deemed to have been stayed. Under the moratorium, it is right. The creditor shall not initiate any legal action or legal proceeding in respect of the debt. This is also right. It is, you can see that. The debtor shall not transfer, alienate, encumber or dispose of any of, this is also right. Debtor shall not transfer, alienate, encumber, dispose of his asset, his legal right, beneficial interest therein, value more than 10% of debt. This is not right. Moratorium. So so D is the right answer for the question number 4. So if you read that section 14, you can able to answer this question. That's what my point of view here. Then you have, as I told you in part 5, that the schedules, 12 schedules are there, very, very important. You have to remember, it will start from partnership to till Companies Act. Partnership is the oldest, 1932, and Companies Act 2013. It also starts section 245, 255. You can easily remember. Section 245 is Partnership Act, 255 is the Companies Act. Here they are asking Limited Liability Partnership Act. So the section 254 is the, 2013, 2008 is the Limited LLP Act. So 254, this type of questions also coming in the exam. Then there is a section 53 IBC. Very, very important waterfall mechanism, how to distribute the assets in the liquidation, how to do it. Very important. I'm telling you, whoever is preparing, please make section 52 and 53 joint reading. 52 talks about a security creditor, if he is not relinquishing his right of security, how he will proceed, and what are the other methods available for him if he is not securing, if he is not recovering his full security. That is section 52 talks about. Section 53 talks about the waterfall mechanism, how the assets has been, the company assets has to distribute under the liquidation. Please read these two sections jointly. You will very well, from these two sections, I am confidently saying that 2 marks is assured from these two sections. So this section 53. So here any contractual agreement between recipients with equal ranking, if disturbing the order of priority shall be, this is the liquidator regulations also there. So liquidator will disregard that the contractual agreements, anything is there. So he will go as per his decision process, and what IBC code says that he will follow. He will not follow the contractual agreement between the recipients. That is the important concept here. So if you read the section 53, you can able to answer this question. This is section, one more question. Then you have other questions like, I told you forms. The forms is very, very important again. In what manner shall the liquidator maintain the particulars of consultation with the stakeholders? If you see that liquidation regulation, you have schedule 1, schedule 2 and schedule 3. 3 regulations are there in that. 3 schedules are there, that under 3 schedules, various forms is available. You have to note it down those schedules. I think if you prepare a comparative chart, like how CIRP regulation, what are the forms? Fast track CIRP, what are the forms? Under liquidation, what are the forms? Voluntary liquidation, what are the forms? Then you will come to know, and also it is easy to remember those forms and those schedules. So in this question, 1 or 2 questions will come there for the forms. Then liquidator shall verify the claim submitted within days from the date of receipt of the claim. This is also 30 days. So this is also from the regulation will come. This is also regulatory questions. Then you have rules. As I told you, registered valuers rules is there. So while a registered valuer shall, while conducting the valuation, comply with the valuation standards as notified or modified. So this is Rule 18 under a registered valuers rules, Companies Act. So Rule 18 is the answer. So rules also, one or two rules, they are lost the questions. Then you have 15. Then you have, this is the Companies Act, how it will come, you see. This type of questions are coming. Any party aggrieved by the recommendation of the mediation and conciliation panel may file objection to the central government or tribunal applicable as the, unless you read this question, Companies Act section 232 or 234, those areas, you can't answer these questions. So this statement is false. This is the answer for this question. Then another basic question, limited liability. How many minimum members of the limited liability partnership? 2 members. That is the answer for this question. Same way, if you see deposits under old act and the new act, borrowings is the one criteria. Earlier we were not treating as a deposits. Now it is treating as a deposits and the new act. These type of questions are there in the LLP and Companies Act. And one more area which I want to this thing. Here, this is the other acts, like any part of single consideration, one or more objects. This is all Sale of Goods Act, all those things, questions are coming this area. Then Negotiable Instrument Act also you have one question. And liability of the partner in the firm. This is a partnership firm. If they ask limited liability, you need to answer, or if they ask only liability of partner, that is a partnership firm. Unlimited, I think everyone knows these general questions. So this is one type of questions. 17. With how many days of the action taken can be agreed by party make appeal? This is the arbitration act. These questions will come like this. The second question, this is 45 days is the answer for the 16th question. The 17th question is, I'll pool power decide proceed follow determining the relevance, materiality, weight of evidence. This is arbitration again. This is the arbitration tribunal we have. See, if you see the general acts, RDDB and SURFACE, you have in IBC you have NCLT, NCLAT. In RDDB and SURFACE you have DRT, DRAT. Please remember these things, very important. Debt recovery tribunal, debt recovery appellate tribunals. Same thing IBC you have NCLT and NCLAT. So from RDDB and SURFACE and IBC, these are all debt recovery, insolvency related and debt recovery acts only. Read it thoroughly, RDDB and SURFACE also. You will have a good understanding of how the procedure of recoveries are there, other than IBC. That is what I can say.